All right, let's go over a few charts. So I asked the money making team to send me some homework, to send me some charts. This was the exact thing that I was asking for. It was one that's high probability, the homework, etc. You can read it if you want to right here. The main thing is, if you're not in masterclass and you are in the essential, then just understand that I asked the people in the masterclass, so in the Discord, feel free to send me your markups on what you think is the highest probability pair, on what you also think is the lowest probability pair. And if you have a flow trading plan, of course, it will be a little bit different, but what would you think is the highest probability price action on your pair for the flow trading plan, bullish or bearish? So that is exactly what we're going to go over, and I will judge the charts and share my thoughts as well. Now, again, when I do share my thoughts, I don't, or I want to clearly state that you are not necessarily wrong when I think something else. I just think we can sometimes focus on a little bit more detailed price action, etc. And it can be in the small details where we can improve. So overall, don't let my words discourage you or whatever you are doing. So that is also very important. Now, if we go into the first one, then we see Kels right here, the AJ flow plan. So that is Australian dollar JPY. I assume update overlooked 4-hour value gap. Sunday open reacted off that, created a re and has gone up from there. All right, let's see what Kels is saying right here. So let me actually see what is the first chart that we start with, the weekly right here. All right, the weekly homework, flow trading plan, pair, AJ, weekly unclear, playing in weekly fair value gap. In my opinion, AJ tends to linger in zones and hit extremes more often than not before the real move. That is very interesting, and that is, again, something that I cannot touch on. As in your opinion, and because you're trading a flow trading plan on Australian dollar JPY, I already assume that you are sort of a veteran for Australian dollar JPY. So you know the characteristics better than I know for Australian dollar JPY. Now, from this chart, only the weekly chart, I would agree with you. Weekly is unclear, playing in weekly fair value gap. Exactly. If you would have said something like, weekly is very clear, we're going higher, then I would have likely said, well, I don't necessarily agree with that. Target, I do like those as well. Maybe the swing high, that is a little bit earlier, but the fake top that you have at the top, that target, the highest target, that is very nice. That is also a target that I would look at. So if we go on to the daily, let's see, homework, flow trading pair. All right, weekly unclear, perfect. I like this, by the way. Daily, seek and destroy consolidations, bearish targets, favorable. In my opinion, AJ tends to, all right, that's the same thing. All right, so yes, this is very clear, seek and destroy consolidation, bearish targets, favorable. All right, overall, do I think bearish targets are more favorable? Yes, could be, but in these conditions right here, then I can't really get to a clear bias right here. So overall, if this was, for example, a filtering process pair that you had picked out, then I would say, all right, this is extremely low probability to trade. But flow trading plan, of course, is a little bit different right here. So if we get into the lower time frame, I'm curious to see how you will get to the 1 hour and what you will do based on that as well. So let's see if we move on. All right, 4 hour respecting bearish PD raise, selling has higher probability. Based on the 4 hour right here, I fully agree with you. Absolutely, yes, I agree with you. And just purely based on the fact that these recent order flow lags right there, it is coming off the daily fair value gap. Now, daily fair value gap has been touched a little bit too often, but we swept those highs as well, so there's just a nice premium rate, there's a nice confluence right there, so we have some nice order flow. Based on that, I would argue, yes, I like this, and I agree with you right here. Absolutely. This week, there's not much for AJ, but lots of US dollar news, expecting more seek and destroy for AJ on the lower time frame. Sunday, Australian dollar origin news, alright, interesting. Good, I like that you incorporated as well the news, perfect, that's perfect. I like this a lot. Great analysis, by the way. Absolutely great analysis. Really good. So, based on this, nothing I can say about it. Perfect. Would also have the exact same right there. And then let's see. On the 1 hour. Alright. The 1 hour, as you can see, not much. The exact same as the 4 hour. Yes. This is also what I would have. And I would ideally not want to see higher prices right there, where we already came into the 1 hour and the 4 hour, which you also marked up right there. Then just continue lower, 1 hour and 4 hour right there that we have. The lower blue line you have right there is higher probability, in my opinion, to happen. Now let's actually take a look at Australian dollar JPY, because you did mention and you edited that it had a shot higher, I believe. Yeah, right here. And this is not too crazy, because you analyzed as well that we are in secant short conditions. So when we are in secant short conditions, this is not that crazy that something like this could happen. So overall, I think we can say that Australian dollar JPY is very low probability, just by the fact of how you analyzed it as well. And I liked the fact that you came to the conclusion secant short conditions. That is a very important factor to know. So you know why it can potentially do something like this, etc. And it's not that crazy to think about. So I like that. I like that. Great analysis. And overall, I would say, of course, yes, it is pretty low probability. And this week, indeed, like you mentioned, not much for Australian dollar JPY. Overall, great analysis. So let's see. All right, Teddy, right here. My thoughts for this week on HP versus low P delirium trading plan. Perfect. HP with time and price, low probability. HP only price action. Thoughts on EU, HP low P. All right, let's look at this right here. So the first one is HP, so high probability with time and price. So I asked two things, actually three things. A low probability pair, a high probability pair that was just based high probability off of price alone, so not incorporated with news, where we just focus on price. And then also a high probability pair where we focus on both time and price. So let's see, this was, again, I keep forgetting, time and price. Yes, perfect. Weekly time frame, hovering above weekly fair value gap. High close, looking for a sweep of previous week high into fair value gap. Daily time frame, disrespecting daily fair value gap, looking for a sweep of previous day high into the weekly fair value gap. 4 hour time frame, waiting for ST into the weekly fair value gap to confirm bearish order flow. Time and price, CHF news on Thursday. All right, nice. Look for a weekly profile high of day Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday continues the weekly profile with news, or Thursday high of the week and reversal. All right, I like that. Let's see. Australian dollar CHF hovering. Let me see. Let me take a look. Australian dollar CHF. All right. I also have it on my list, so it must be high probability. No. So right here, this is exactly, yeah, and it's funny because I also have this on my list right now, where the monthly right there is just following through on the context. So indeed, that is high probability. Monthly is just pointing downwards still, is bearish. Then on the weekly, we can see, all right, if we want to continue lower, we can continue lower off that weekly fair value gap that is sitting right there. So then indeed, the daily and the 4 hour right there, you would want to wait for ideally an ST lower. Now, since we have news on Thursday, it will likely take some time to actually form, where, like you mentioned as well, and that's great, that we might see the move on Thursday happen. We can also look to incorporate Australian dollar CHF, Australian dollar news, of course. Not too sure on when we do have Australian dollar news. Let me actually check. That is... we had Monday, which didn't do that much. Then we have CHF news. Okay, so you were right. All right, perfect. Yes, exactly. And tomorrow we also have some news for CHF on 8:40 a.m. Then we also have some CPI on Thursday, likely, like you mentioned, and that is a great analysis by you. CPI, so that will likely create the majority of the move as well. So then, indeed, like you mentioned, then Thursday can create that high of the week right there to then continue lower as well. It's a great analysis, and yes, I fully agree with this, and this is indeed, in my opinion, also very high probability right now. All right, great analysis, great one. So low probability, let's see. This is Australian dollar, US dollar. Price swept equal lows, but there's no displacement on neither time frame. Low probability, waiting for order flow to get confirmed on 4 hour daily. So we can finally target the monthly fair value gap above, disrespecting bullish and bearish PD race, so nothing confirmed price and time. No Australian dollar news this week, so in the waiting list still. Yes, perfect, absolutely perfect, and I fully agree with this. Let's fully go over it a little bit more in depth as well. And yes, like I went over as well in the forecast videos, recently and the last few weeks. This is extremely low probability, right? And the reason why that is if we need some kind of trend to actually capitalize on those ideas, that is ideal, of course. For order flow to be established, order flow, the very basics of order flow is premium arrays and discount arrays holding. So if you have bullish order flow, you have discount arrays holding. If you have bearish order flow, you have premium arrays holding. When those premium arrays hold, those premium arrays are causing new premium arrays to be formed. That is the basis of order flow. So that is orders in the market. That is the order flow of the market. So when you don't have those premium arrays pushing price lower and creating new premium arrays in the form of valid order blocks, valid breaker blocks with new fair value gaps, that is the most important part, then of course this is not something you would want to trade. No order flow established is just seeking short conditions where PD rates are not following through. So your analysis here, perfect, absolutely perfect. This is probably the lowest probability pair, and I would agree with that as well. Lowest probability pair to trade right now. Where as well, we also have Euro JPY, which is also extremely low probability, but based on time as well, which you mentioned exactly, that is perfect. Because right here, this is also low probability, but there's still some movement in. As in, there's more potential for to form something right here, if that makes sense. So great analysis, and yes, I fully agree with this as well. And especially since we do have that monthly fair value gap, so continuing lower, like it has been trying to, is just already not that high probability, and then you get all price action like this. Exactly. Great analysis on the low probability pair. High probability with time and price, also great, perfect. Then high probability only price action. Really curious to see which one you have here. This is Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Weekly time frame, previous week big move up, targeting buy side liquidity on the swing high. Tiny weekly fair value gap above. Daily time frame, Monday can consolidate, making daily fair value gap. Could look for setups to target buy side liquidity if not reached. We already have daily order flow confirmed. Weekly profile, expecting low of the week to be Tuesday or Wednesday. Watching for sweeps and watching 4-hour order flow to agree with buy side liquidity target. If we sweep previous day low, not so bullish at price action anymore. Love that analysis. Love that. Let's actually take a look. I also had this on my list, I believe, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. And I fully agree with you actually, because I also think this is really high probability price action, just purely based on price action itself, of course. With time, let's actually take a look at time. Do we have something agreeing? We have Canadian dollar potentially. We do have some Canadian dollar news. Now, if we take away the time factor, then indeed, just purely based on price, this is extremely high probability for us to trade. It looks very, very nice right here. So I also like the idea, and currently to add on to it, right now that daily fair value gap, that would of course be some sort of the last line of defense if we want to push higher right there. That is exactly what I would look at. The same as you have right now. That is perfect. I like that a lot. So Tuesday, Wednesday could create the low of the week indeed right there. Potentially today, but today is already quite late. Could do it tomorrow, which is very nice. Very, very nice. Great analysis. Yes, fully agree with it as well. Give me something to not agree with. Come on. No, I'm joking. All right, the weekly time frame. Still respecting the weekly fair value gap. This was, let me check actually, thought on EU, high probability, low probability. All right, let me check. Weekly time frame, still respecting the weekly fair value gap, rejecting with big wick, looking to sweep weekly sell side liquidity. Price needs to respect the daily fair value gap. Invalidation is 50% of the weekly wick candle. If price trades and closes above the 50%, no longer instant. Weekly profile expecting Monday sweep of previous high, making the high of the week. Dollar expectations are bullish. All right, yes, this is a great analysis, but you gave me something to sort of disagree with. So in this case, the reason why I do like the analysis, as in, I don't think it's a wrong analysis. The only thing I would love for you to take into account right there is that monthly fair value gap that we have right there. So that already indicates that everything here is pretty low probability for it to happen when we do have that monthly fair value gap sitting right there. So overall, your analysis is not bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad. The thing is though, that is a great option, that if we do something like this, then we could get involved on that move lower once we already have fair value gaps lower off of this ST right there. Now, in that sense, we also want, well, in that sense, that is lower probability than when we have that Mount Markups getting traded into, and then we continue lower off of that, because then we have no reason to return above those highs anymore. Whereas if we do something like this, then we still have this Mount Markups, so we still actually have a reason to return higher. So in that sense, I would argue right there that this is not the highest probability analysis right here. I don't think it's wrong, but I do not think it's the highest probability. And the reason for that is because I would have loved for you to take into account the most time frame. Other than that, again, great analysis, nothing for me to add on. The thing I would like to add on, and this is actually maybe also very, very nice in a separate video, where if we have a sweep of those highs right there, we have a sweep of those highs in this first leg. So I want you to visualize this, and I'll sort of take you through the process where institutions on the 4 hour, etc., they trade a higher time frame. So this is a daily and even weekly swing high. So institutions, when we break above that, they want to buy because they see it as bullish prices. So when we have that breakout right there, they put their stop loss beneath a recent swing lows right there. And what they do is they want to buy. They target whatever they want to target. Maybe previous year high, something along the lines of that. And they hold for months and months and months. And that is what they do. So they are breakout traders. So they have a buy stop above that swing high right there. Now, those breakout traders, they are getting trapped right there by that move lower. So they are in drawdown right now. Which means when they are in drawdown right there, that of course means that if we need that liquidity, we need to trap those institutions, etc. Then what happens is that we don't want to release them until we reach that target. So first we need to reach that target before we potentially release them. What is releasing them? That releasing them right there is if we come back above that break-even line, then of course they can go out at break-even and they can sort of have no loss and no liquidity is being taken right there. So right there they are released, which for me would indicate, all right, that is also another confluence that I do think we are going to trade inside that Mmt Markups, which you also had with that little bit different approach where you had the 50% level instead of this right there. But again, there's nothing wrong with your approach as well right there. All right, great analysis overall. Really liked it. Great job. Then here on, this is how I'm looking at GU on a weekly basis. Let me see GU. Let me see which one is the highest one. Monthly, all right. We are forming Mmt Markups. We have Mmt Markups. Yes, perfect. Let me see. Weekly, I mentioned this weekly wick CE, since there's no fair value gap on weekly. All right. If we wanted to go higher, then we would have gone high from this point, overlapping with fair value gap, and FVG is completely disrespected. All right. Then on the, yes, this is the same one. All right. Perfect. Let's see. On the 4 hour, I mentioned this weekly wick CE, since there's no value. Oh yeah, okay, it's the same thing. All right, interesting. And I like your analysis. Only thing is you didn't incorporate the daily, at least. You didn't send it right there. So what I would like to do is to get a better view on GU. And right here, what I would like to do is, first off, your analysis right there is perfect. As in, we have Mmt Markups right there. This basically that swing low right there, which we could target. So we have two things to target. We either do this right there, or we just continue lower first towards that discount rate right there. So that is perfect on the weekly basis. Now the weekly basis right here, if we are going higher right there, then this is not really a relevant place. As in, this is not part of our current order flow. So these fair value gaps right there getting disrespected, that's already what we've seen coming. As in, that's not part of our current order flow. So we would have likely never gone higher off of that in that sense. So that is why I would not use that to the left, because it's not part of our current order flow. So whenever that happens, then I don't use the sentence, if we are going higher, where are we going higher from? Because if we are going lower, where are we going lower from? If we are going higher, where are we going higher from? it needs to be always off of current order flow. It can't be any PD array that is to the left, if that makes sense. But other than that, your logic on that as well is perfect. Extremely nice. Then on the monthly, exactly, we have it above right there. Then on the daily, the thing we can do right here is, and this is why I think daily would have benefited you, is that we can look at the daily fair value gap right there, because the monthly or the weekly right here, we have already mitigated everything. As in, if we were to go lower, we would have gone lower off of that and would have created a new weekly fair value gap lower, which it clearly didn't do. So right here, we are disrespecting this daily fair value gap, which if we are going lower, we should go lower off of that right there, which we didn't do. So right here, I would almost expect a little bit of bullish prices, at least seeking a premium rate. And for me, a premium rate would just be in high. And again, that is where we can differ, of course, because you can have that CE, I can have that premium rate in the swing high right there. That's where we have a little bit of a difference in that sense. And I don't really use those wicks to measure CE, etc. That's not something I do because I feel like it's more so forcing it in a sense in unclear price action. But if you do want to use it, of course, then be my guest right there. So overall, your analysis is great. Now, overall, I also think that based on your analysis right there, the wick right there that we have on the what is it, the weekly right there, that we can come into that and not come into the monthly fair value gap, because as we can see, GU is way weaker than EU, for example. So EU, all right, we can come into the monthly fair value gap. If EU and the dollar come into the monthly fair value gap right there already, then of course GU right here likely won't. As in, if it doesn't have the volatility to do it, then it might not even come close right there. So that is why, again, that 50% might be nice right there for you to potentially go into the 4 hour eventually to look for lower prices as well. So overall, some things you could touch on, maybe incorporating daily, etc. But again, that could also be your own personal preference. That is where the small details do come in. But I don't want to discourage you from how you trade. And if you're successful with it, then of course, you do you. But overall, great analysis as well. Great stuff. Then USD Canadian dollar could do something like this. Let's see. Monthly might create fair value gap. All right. Very small one, actually. Yeah. All right. Let me first actually go over the monthly. Yeah, monthly might create fair value gap. Yes. On the next candle, it could create a potential fair value gap. All right. Interesting. Let's see. Then on the daily, we have that daily fair value gap with that overlapping high. Perfect. I like that a lot. Let's actually see, where's that blue line. The blue line is right there. So there's the low or the high of the low of the fair value gap, the high of that previous month's low. Very interesting. Relative equal low. All right. Perfect. Let me see. Monthly might create fair value gap. Yes, like we saw. All right. Yes, that's perfect. I like this a lot. And the thing I would add on to here, and that's just me, that's that these 4 hour equal lows, they are not really that relevant. As in, the only thing relevant is of course the daily value gap. That is when, if you already have that daily context going on, you don't necessarily need to go into the 4 hour, because the 4 hour is not that relevant anymore. You're just sort of using up extra energy and focus points and brain points by going into the 4 hour, whilst the daily is already enough for you don't need to go lower than that, if that makes sense. Other than that, perfect. I like this a lot, and I fully agree with you as well that the monthly right here, and I liked the fact that you marked out that low of the potential fair value gap right there, because of course, if the monthly wants to continue higher, it will create a new monthly fair value gap. So it shouldn't come back to that right there. So understanding that, this daily fair value gap is sort of the last line of defense right there if we want to continue higher. So I like this a lot. Great analysis here. Great job. Great stuff. Yes, perfect. Nothing for me to add on. Perfect. Like this a lot. Great stuff so far. Absolutely perfect. Highest probability based on price, GBP, JPY. Highest probability based on both time and price, Euro, CHF. Lowest probability pair, Australian dollar, JPY. No daily and weekly fair value gap, no clear order flow. So let's see. Highest probability based on price, GBP, JPY. Let me see. Do you have an analysis? Yes, right here. Respect. Weekly fair value gap, order flow is bullish. Fair value gap All right. So let me go into GBP JPY. And because the highest probability based on price, I would have to disagree with you here. And the reason for that is right here that we have a month for Vega below it. That's the first thing. Then on the weekly time frame, we are already you could say we are respecting it right there. But overall, we are disrespecting it by the fact that we are not already expanding higher right there, which I do not like. So overall, you can already see that all this price action is taking way too long in current order flow. As in, it's taking, what is this? It's taking 70 days to potentially expand higher above that weekly context high right there. It's taking way too long. So then on the daily, we can see we're not really creating daily for gaps. Overall, I agree with you right here that weekly order flow indeed can continue higher towards those highs, etc. But the way we've been in seeking historic conditions right here, and we do have this month for gap as well below it right there, this is just purely based on price alone. I would not call this high probability right here, and would actually call it very, very low probability in my opinion. So right here, and the reason for it is, again, we have to seek in historic conditions where price is not really following through on discount rates. We do have that for gap. Eventually we might follow through, but it's taking its good time, as in we came into that fair value gap on that wick right there, meaning that it took 14 days, 2 weeks to potentially expand higher right there and create bullish order flow, which is taking too long right there. So just purely based on price, I do not like this. On the 4 hour, we can also see that it's just had big consolidations right here and a lot of seeking short conditions. So overall, I do agree with you that we could continue higher. Do I trust price here to continue higher? Not really, because it's been trying to push higher for a long time. It's just me failing to. So overall, I do not trust it. Overall, I do not think this is a high probability price action. Although, again, I do agree with you that it might continue higher right there. It's just the fact that we might take quite a few hits before we actually get the right move. So that is, of course, the dangerous part as well. We want to have, and that is why we find the highest probability pair. Because if we find the highest probability pair, then we can take the least amount of hits before we actually call the right move and before we get involved in the right move. That is important. All right, let me look at the next one. And again, other than that, great analysis as well. Fake top, I do also agree with that. That is indeed a fake top. I agree with that for sure. Equal highs is also, of course, a nice target right there based on the 4 hour. Yes, agree with that. Perfect. That is nice. That is nice. Then highest probability based on both time and price. Euro CHF. Let me see. So price respect order block. Yes. It's I believe that's the monthly order block as well. Monthly for gap, very nice price action. Love to see it. Then with CPI news on Monday and Thursday, price target, sell side liquidity. Let me see. On the daily, you have that one right there, and that is in this case, I'm not too certain. Let me check. It was Euro CHF right there. In this case, again, even though, because you sent your analysis on, what was it, yesterday, which was the Monday candle at the beginning of Monday, so Monday wasn't really happening just yet, I fully agree with you, as in, yes, I fully agree with you that we are likely continuing lower. Based on time and price, I also had this on my list for being extremely high probability. Also, really liked it. So, based on that, nothing for me to add on. I think your analysis, or your highest probability pair based on time and price right here was perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Only thing is right there that you had this daily fair value gap marked out right there, which I personally would not do. And I'll tell you why as well. It's because when we already have, and when we look at order flow is always the current or the past lags. The past lags with fair value gaps in them, easily said. So this right here is our recent order flow lag. That is the recent order flow high right there. On the daily time frame, this is our recent order flow high. Is this daily order flow lag high probability? Not really. So this is our weekly fair value gap that we would like to trade off of. So again, those time frames are in context right there. Then on the daily, this high with that fair value gap right there that I believe you marked out or something like that, that is not necessarily high probability to trade off. I would rather trade off the weekly fair value gap in itself and wait for maybe a 4-hour confirmation, etc. This is not necessarily a high probability fair value gap, and the reason for that, because we already also came into it and created a new premium rate, a new fair value gap lower off it as well. So that is not the small detail that I would personally not like to use. That is not very high probability in my eyes. I would rather use the weekly fair value gap that is sitting right here, right there. But overall, your high probability pair for time and price right here, perfect. Also fully agree with you on that. Of course, I could say in hindsight, well, not really high probability. No, it was perfectly high probability. Absolutely agree with you on that. Perfect. Perfectly fine. All right, let's see. And as well, this, we could also argue that daily value gap is not part of current order flow anymore. So that is why I would personally not use it. Let me know if that does make sense. Lowest probability pair, Australian dollar JPY, no daily and weekly fair value gap, no clear order flow. And this is the one we saw Kels mention, right? Which I also fully agree on. Australian dollar JPY, extremely low probability right there. It's no fair value gaps, no bias exactly, and we can go over it again, but we mentioned it as well for at the beginning, where if you're trading a flow trading plan, of course, it's a little bit different, which also is great because it requires a lot of patience to trade, which is absolutely perfect. So it has pros and cons, but this is something you can get caught up in when you're trading a flow trading plan, for example. So overall, for a filtering process, you would absolutely avoid that pair at all costs, of course, seek and destroy. Fully agree with you on that as well. Perfect. Looks very nice. Euro US dollar TA done on Saturday. Let me know if this is what you are looking for in homework. Still learning my way. No worries. We will see exactly what we can make of it. First of all, first thing I do notice is that there's a lot going on. And I personally like to have very, very clean charts. Now, and the main thing is as well, that helps me. The clean charts helps me to sort of see what price is doing. And again, that might be a very personal preference, right? So I'm not saying you should delete everything off a chart. But here and there, if there's something you would not use or is not relevant, then I would say, all right, let's try to clean it up a little bit. It's like a clean desk. If you have a clean desk, then clear mine as well. So right here, narrative Sunday daily time frame. I expect price to keep coming down to take out equal lows and what is that? Not sure what that is, but DSL. I'm a bit of a DSH. What is that? I'm not daily short-term low. Maybe, I think. Shows 4-hour time frame shows equal lows at different price. Notice different prices will be interesting to see where this turns. I expect 4-hour area. All right, so this is the 4-hour area, I reckon, right there, the red area, 4-hour area, or the above one. All right. It's a bit difficult for me to read it as well, to be honest, but I'll tell you what I think about it. And the thing I would love for you to go over is as well the same thing we saw with Teddy, is that we do have a clear monthly fair value gap above us, hovering above us right there. If we want to continue lower already off of here, again, that could happen. If that happens, we will get clear signs with the daily fair value gap lower, 4-hour fair value gap lower. Until that time, I would like to wait, and the highest probability is to wait for that monthly fair value gap right there to then continue lower off of that. So if we incorporate order flow right here, and to sort of how I can also keep my chart very clean, is because when these concepts are used, then I don't need to have a lot of my chart. Because monthly right there, all right, is there monthly context? Yes, monthly fair value gap to continue lower. Perfect. That's all I need on my chart right now. On the weekly, don't need anything on my chart. Daily, don't need anything on my chart. 4-hour, don't need anything on my chart because ideally I don't want to trade towards it. I want to trade off of it. So when we reach that monthly fair value gap, then I want to trade off of it, which then would allow me to put something else on my chart. But if I use recent order flow, then the same thing right there, which I'm seeing, all the things to the left, 1-hour CB, 4-hour CB, 4-hour CB right there, those are not relevant and they are a lot of distractions right there. So in my opinion, that's not something you would want to have on your chart as well, because it's just a lot of noise which is not really relevant anymore. And at that time was not even relevant because of the 1 hour Sibi right there to the left. The 4 hour Sibis are not relevant. It's trying to almost what I make of it when you have a 4 hour Sibi like this to the left. Then this 4 hour Sibi was really not that relevant. The only thing relevant was right there the weekly lows, weekly fair value gap, and that we swept that high right there. Because again, that is based on current order flow. If fair value gaps and any PD rate is not part of current order flow, which already filters out an immense amount of fair value gaps on the 1 hour and 4 hour, then I would highly advise to not mark them up because they're not relevant. And things like this is not something you would want to trade off of. Absolutely not. And the reason I say that is because that is us trying to catch, if we go into the 5 minute right there, that's just us trying to catch a top or a bottom. Now, if it was based on this high right there, which we have marked out and we expected to sweep at that time, which we did, then of course it would be a little bit different. But if we trade off of old fair value gaps like that and we go to the left right there and pick out old fair value gaps to trade off of, the amount of hits and the amount of losses we will take right there trying to trade this is absolutely insane. And the reason for that is because it's just not part of our current order flow, which is very important as well. So overall, those are the things I would touch on right there as well. And yes, let me know if that does make sense. This is perfect though. This is perfect. I like that. All right, then see graphs for more information. All right, let me see, Tobias. Let me see. Dollar weekly NQ daily price, EU weekly timer price, Australian dollar JPY daily avoiding. Perfect. Let me see. Let's start off with Australian dollar JPY. Price consolidating in a tight range. Really hard to see where we are going. Exactly. Perfect. Nothing for me to add on to. Perfect. Love it. Great stuff. Let me see. US 100. So for NASDAQ, you mentioned daily and price. Let's see. I really like this displacement overlapping with an order block. This is like a signature move that stands out. Only looking at price, this is it. Yes, I also like this. And the reason I also like that is, let me touch on it as well, is because I still think, and I mentioned it in the forecast as well, in the breakdown, this is not a real bottom to me. So this right there, this move into that low to continue lower off of that, with the dollar potentially inside the monthly value gap as well to continue higher. Yes, I do quite like that as well. That looks really, really nice. That looks really nice. I do really like that as well. That is nice. Purely based on price, I agree with you. Of course, in a time factor, if we ignore that, I fully agree with you. Time, of course, is a bit of an issue that we have right now. Because FOMC, NFP is not that nice. Right there. All right, let's see. Then dollar weekly. Right there. Discounted premium rate. This weekly fair value gap acts as support. Yes, I agree with you. I do agree with you. All right, that is nice. And that, I assume, is the highest probability as well. Or what you're assuming right there. I do have to say that quite a lot of people, and it actually surprises me, am I not touching on the monthly enough? It actually surprised me that quite a lot of people don't seem to use the monthly time frame right here, which in my opinion is the most crucial right here, because if we have monthly context, then the rest of the context is the easiest thing ever. So right here, again, I would agree with you if we didn't have the monthly below that right there. And again, we can still continue higher off of that. Only thing is that we did come into it. Currently does not seem like we are expanding. We can still do that. So again, I'm not saying you are wrong. That is not what I'm saying, because we can still do that. If we get signs on the daily and the 4 hour that we do want to expand higher right now, then I agree with you. All right, daily fair value gap higher potentially. Yes, we can already expand higher towards those highs right there. Perfect. Overall, right now, I would say, all right, that monthly fair value gap is looking quite nice, that we might want to trade into that to then continue higher. It could also be the case that I'm a little bit early, as in I'm a little bit premature, and what is it? I take into account a monthly fair value gap that hasn't formed yet. That could also be the case. So that might be a great learning factor for everyone, that monthly fair value gap that haven't formed yet, there you can already take them into account, of course, because it's only 9 hours away, 10 hours. So yeah, that's the only thing I would pay attention to right there. Then on EU, monthly fair value gap in the making. Ah, okay, yeah. There you do have it. All right, perfect. I take back my words. Monthly fair value gap in the making. Could possibly sting into it. at FOMC manipulation before we had lower for the monthly value gap below us. My plan is to wait for the FOMC and look for shorts on Thursday or Friday. Perfect. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yes, I like this. I take back my words on the monthly value gap as well. You did incorporate it. Perfect. Yes, I like that a lot. Yes, this is very nice. This is very nice as well. Now, the only thing is there again that Thursday, I do like that. That FOMC, I fully agree with that as well. Only thing is that we on Friday do have NFP, so take that into account as well. Don't forget that. And so we might see a little bit of a consolidation. Then ahead of NFP, we get everything and we get the real moves, etc., etc. So that is of course something to take into account. That we do have NFP on Friday. Overall, fully agree with you right there that if FOMC stinks into that, already continues lower, perfect. Then NFP will just likely accelerate that move into the monthly value gap below that. Perfect. I like that a lot. All right, Len. Let me see. I'm expecting a lot from Len. My takes on the homework. Low probability Australian dollar, US dollar. Some serious choppiness on the daily now, failing to create a new bearish dealing range as we fail to displace below the lows. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar looks bullish too, but a long-term sentiment for the dollar remains bullish. This means Australian dollar, US dollar is showing strength against the bullish dollar, which will result in a consolidating or stuck market for Australian dollar, US dollar. Low probability, so I would definitely avoid this. 100% agree, couldn't have said it any better. And that is usually the case with where markets are not correlating anymore. Then the usual thing that we see is that they indeed end up in a consolidating market or seeking short condition in a stock market, like you also mentioned. Exactly, perfect. Let's see. Here on Australian dollar, US dollar, yes, we already went over it, right? Don't think I need to touch on it again, but I fully agree with you as well right here. These first two right there. Yes, absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. This is definitely something I would avoid as well. Extremely low probability. And we can see as well with Tobias and quite a lot of people, Australian dollar, JPY and Australian dollar, US dollar, yes, they are extremely low probability. Do I think, that's an interesting question, do I think one is lower probability than the other? That is quite interesting. Let me actually go over that. I would, that is a great question actually that I asked myself, if I do say so myself. Would I say Australian dollar, US dollar is lower probability than Australian dollar, JPY? Yes, potentially. And the main reason for that is because overall, like Len as well mentioned, that dollar overall being bullish, then we can still expect lower price here on Australian dollar, US dollar. That's not the crazy part. But overall, we also want the pair itself to agree, as in it also needs to have that context of the monthly value gap. If the dollar already wants to continue higher off the monthly value gap itself, the chances of Australian dollar, US dollar coming into this monthly value gap to then continue lower right there, it will likely not reach that monthly value gap if the dollar already wants to expand higher. So we need to understand that first of all. So when that is the case, then I need to sort of reverse my thinking here, where what is the highest probability of the lowest probability thing to happen? Where Australian dollar, US dollar is just the pair itself is very low probability. And as well with the dollar, etc., etc., it's very low probability. It's not, even with the dollar being bullish, it's just not continuing lower off of those daily value gaps. Now, if we look at Australian dollar JPY, it's also extremely low probability. But right here, we still have weekly order flow right there, continuing higher. On the monthly, we have no reason to come back below it. So monthly order flow is actually also continuing higher towards that high right there. So in that sense, it's just not delivering, as in it's just not doing it fast enough. Overall, I would say Australian dollar, US dollar is then indeed lower probability because it doesn't have that context. It's not delivering lower, it's not delivering higher or anything. So they are both absolutely shit, but the shittiest is probably Australian dollar, US dollar right there. So that's how I would go about it. I've never actually gone over lower probability versus lower probability. It's very interesting actually. And as well the high, how these highs formed on Australian JPY, I do still think that we can definitely target those highs. The only thing is that we are just not really delivering towards it. It's definitely faked up right there, and I do still think that we are heading higher, because there's no reason to come back below it actually. So overall, I'm just, yeah, very difficult. All right, high probability based on price only. Gold. Gold has been showing extreme bullishness, completely pricing through old fair value gaps. Current drawn liquidity still is open. The weekly rejection block. 4 hours still bullish order flows. We are approaching a discount lag on the 4 hour with a fair value gap stacked with an order block. Perfect. Let me see. That's this one. And on this right here, yes, I fully agree with you as well. That right here, the gold based on price alone is extremely high probability. But I do want to touch on a few things that I agree with you that it is indeed very likely going higher. Now, the thing I do not like on gold, and if I go over that right there, and right here, we have this weekly fair value gap below it. Now, that weekly fair value gap in itself is too low, I would argue, for it to come into that right there to then continue higher. All right. If we go into the daily right there, what can we continue higher off the daily? We are not creating a daily fair value gap higher, which means that this lag in itself is likely also lower probability. So we don't have fair value gap higher. We don't have a clear discount rate we can head higher from. Then on the 4 hour right there, this right here is perfect. This is where I would also argue, yes, indeed, we likely are respecting that low on the 4 hour basis, but since the daily didn't create that daily fair value gap, that sort of worries me a little bit. But again, that is a very small detail. That is me being very picky. Overall, fully agree with this as well right here. Fully agree with it. Very nice. Perfect. Then right here. High probability based on time and price. Euro GBP. EG has been showing bullish order flow on the weekly time frame. From the daily perspective, we are seeing the first line of defense being respected. The current daily fair value gap. Also on the 4 hour, we priced through the fair value gaps, still respecting discount rates. All right. It looks a bit choppy, but we are creating a potential 4 hour order block, which we can go long from. What makes the high probability because of time is this week FOMC plus NFP week. We may see extended periods of consolidation on dollar pairs beforehand, which will allow the cross to move as intermarket strength or weakness will become more apparent because of stalling dollar ahead of news. Also a lot of news for euro as well. The GBP this week. We are at the end of current month though, and it's Monday, so by definition I would not be looking to trade this even though the conditions. Let's see. All right. Then this one right here, Euro GBP. Euro GBP on the weekly, fully agree with it. Look at that high below the weekly fair value gap. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I like that a lot. I would also want to see that delivery into that weekly fair value gap right there. Can we already deliver off of the 4 hour? 4 hour actually has been expanding right now, which if we go look at it right now, where is it currently sitting? Right there. It already reached the weekly fair value gap actually. Perfect. So overall right here, I would also argue that at that time, once we didn't reach that weekly fair value gap right there, yes, that is very high probability right there. Very high probability, like it a lot. Once the 4 hour fair value gap has been expanding higher as well, or we actually create that 4 hour fair value gap higher, of course. Yes, I like that a lot as well. Then right there, and as well, I like the reason why you chose your GBP as well. It's the drawn liquidity is very clear. Can we have just a clear discount rate to deliver into that? Perfect. All right, and as well, we have CPI and FOMC throughout the week. So ideally we want to look at crosses because those are of course where we will have the most volatility throughout the week, because CPI and FOMC will just make sure that the dollar pairs, etc., dollar instruments will likely consolidate. So perfect. I like that a lot. Then right here, that is the delivery, which is in my opinion as well extremely high probability. Now once we've reached that high right there, not extremely high probability anymore to look for longs right there, unless we create that new 4 hour fair value gap higher, of course, right there, which the delivery you talked about was absolutely perfect. Let's see. Yes, was absolutely perfect. Liked it a lot. Great analysis, but that's already what I expected from Len. So yeah, great analysis. Great stuff. Absolutely perfect stuff. Love that. All right, Johannes, let's see my homework. High probability with price, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Clear drawn liquidity, equal highs, weekly, daily, fair value gap, weekly, daily fair value gap. in making with overlapping high. Let me see. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. This is also one we touched on, right? Also the one we touched on, I believe. Yes, that is something, yes. Well, not exactly this one. But this is also the one I had on my list right there, which is also very high probability, in my opinion, right there. The daily fair value gap that we are currently in, actually, alright, very interesting. Did not see that just yet. That is very high probability to push price higher right there. That is very nice right there. And like you mentioned, mainly based off of price. News, Australian dollar, etc. was not really that great this week, but based off of price, yes. I fully agree with that as well. If we do have New Zealand dollar, let me actually check. Do we have New Zealand dollar news this week? Okay, we have to do it today. All right, perfect. Yeah, perfect. All right, I like that. I like that. Perfect. Yeah, that's a great analysis. I like that a lot. Really like that as well. Very high probability in my opinion. Then high probability with time and price. Also Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. All right. Choose news supporting the ID. Yes, perfect. New Zealand dollar. Yes, that's the one we saw actually right now. Yes, perfect. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yes. Inside the daily value gap. Yes, perfect. I like it. I like it a lot. And again, if we do not continue higher off of this, then that is sort of the last line of defense right there where we are sweeping the swing high. We might continue lower. This is perfect. I like this a lot. Great area right there. Great area. I like it. All right. Low probability pair, Australian dollar, JPY, because daily and weekly in range. Yes. Yes, yes. Perfect. Like it a lot as well. Great analysis. And yeah, overall, just a great analysis as well. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, and Australian dollar, JPY. Both overall, great, great, great analysis. Nothing really for me to touch on right here. Let me see if there's anything I can touch on. Let me see. No, not really. I like it. It's great. Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Great analysis. Great analysis. Well done. So, great analysis by everyone. Well done. Thank you all for sending in your analysis as well. For me to be able to judge them, of course. So, thank you all. Great analysis. Let me know if everything makes sense as well. And if there's something you feel like I need to touch on more, then of course, also please tell me. All right. Perfect. Thank you.